Years ago, the planet Varela was full of life and light. Tall trees with glowing leaves covered the hills. Peaceful people lived in cities made of crystal and stone. The Varelans were known for their kindness and beauty. Their rulers, the royal family, were wise and loved by everyone. But everything changed when the Drexen horde attacked. The Drexens came without warning. Their ships were dark and loud. They dropped fire from the sky and sent machines into the streets. People ran in fear. Homes burned. The sky turned red dot in the middle of this chaos. A young Varelan girl named Lyra was pulled from her room by guards. She was the only daughter of the queen. She wore a silver dress and a small crown. Her long white hair glowed faintly in the dark hallway as the guards rushed her away. "Where is my mother?" Lyra cried. "Quiet, princess," one guard said, looking around. "We must get you to safety." Outside, explosions shook the palace. The guards took Lyra through secret tunnels and out into the forest, but the Drexen scouts followed. One by one, the guards were lost. Lyra ran alone into the jungle. She stumbled, scratched her knees, and hid under a fallen log. She was only 10 years old. She did not know someone was watching her from nearby. On the other side of the forest, a young human soldier named Tom had landed with a small team. They were part of a peacekeeping force sent to help Varela, but the attack had come too fast. Most of his team had fallen. Now Tom moved alone through the smoke and trees, trying to help whoever he could. He heard soft crying near a burned tree, quiet footsteps. He held his small scanner. It showed one life sign nearby. He followed it carefully when he found the girl. She was curled in the shadows, shivering. Tom knelt down and removed his helmet. His face was dirty, with a small cut on his cheek. His eyes were kind. "Hey," he said softly, "you hurt?" Lyra looked up, scared. "Who are you?" "Tom. I'm human. I'm here to help." "You're from Earth," she whispered. "You have a ship?" "Not anymore. It crashed, but I can still protect you." She looked at him, unsure. "They said humans were dangerous." Tom smiled. "Sadly, some of us are. But not today." Lyra took his hand. That night, they moved through the jungle together. Tom carried a small light and held his old map. He was wounded in the side, but he didn't stop. Lyra walked beside him, tired and quiet. She had never walked through mud before. She had never heard wild animals cry in the dark, but she trusted Tom. They stopped to rest under a cliff. Tom gave her water and a heat pack from his kit. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Tom didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you needed someone, and because you're just a kid." "I'm not a kid," she said with a small frown. Tom chuckled. "Sorry, you're a brave young princess." Lyra looked down. "My mother is gone. My people are gone." "No, you're still here, so your people still have hope." She didn't reply, but she held onto his arm as she fell asleep. By morning, Tom's scanner picked up a signal. A Varelan escape shuttle was hidden nearby. He lifted Lyra onto his back and hurried toward it. His side hurt with every step, but he didn't stop. When they reached the shuttle, 3 Varelan guards rushed out. "Princess Lyra." One of them shouted. "You're alive." Lyra ran into their arms. She turned back to Tom and smiled. Tom handed one of the guards his broken Earth badge. "Take her far. Hide her. Don't tell anyone you saved her." The guard asked. Tom nodded. "Now go. They're coming." The guards pulled Lyra into the ship. She looked at Tom through the glass window. "Will I see you again?" she asked. Tom gave a small wave. "One day." The shuttle lifted into the sky and vanished into the clouds. Tom turned back to the jungle. Drexen machines were coming. He raised his weapon and walked into the trees. Later, reports said that Princess Lyra had died in the attack. No one spoke of the human soldier who had saved her. His name was lost in dusty files. On Earth, Tom was sent home and given a medal in a quiet room with no crowd. He never told anyone about the girl with white hair and silver eyes. Years passed. Tom left the military. He became a cargo pilot, flying small ships between moons and stations. He never stayed long in one place. He kept the memories buried. But every now and then, He looked up at the stars and wondered if she was still out there. Far away. On a hidden moon, Lyra grew in secret. She trained with her guards and studied her people's history. She kept a small box under her bed. Inside was a broken earth badge and a simple note carved on metal. Never stop fighting, she never did. Far away from the cities of Varela, across wide deserts and frozen lands, there was a green moon called Trinari. It was quiet and peaceful. No large cities, only trees, rivers, and small hills. That was where Princess Lyra had lived in hiding. For many years, the Varelan guards who saved her built a secret house deep in the forest. It was hidden under large roots of glowing trees. No one knew it was there. The Drexen scouts searched many places, but they never looked in Trinari. It was too far and too cold. They thought the princess had died during the war. Lyra was now 20 years old. She had grown stronger. Her white hair was tied in a short braid. Her clothes were made for speed and silence, not for royal halls. She trained every day with her guards. She ran through the woods, climbed trees, and practiced with simple weapons. One of the older guards, Rel, taught her how to survive. "You are not just a princess now," Rel told her. "You are the future of your people. But how can I lead them when they don't even know I'm alive?" Lyra asked. "They will know," Rel said, "when the time is right." At night, Lyra sat in her small room inside the tree shelter. She looked at the old badge Tom had given her. It was scratched and dull, but she kept it safe in a wooden box. Sometimes she held it and closed her eyes. She remembered the way Tom had carried her through the dark forest, the way he gave her water and called her brave. She remembered how he didn't ask for anything, not even thanks. He had vanished into the trees, never waiting for a reward. She had never seen him again. But Lyra had not forgotten. Over the years, she tried to send messages across the stars. She learned old Earth military codes from books left by human visitors. Using a broken beacon hidden in the roots of a tree, she sent signals toward Earth. Short messages, quiet ones, to the soldier who saved me. "I am alive. I will return. If you hear this, please answer." Every few months, she sent the same message. For years, she got no reply. But she never stopped. Back on Earth, far from Varela and the war, Tom lived a simple life. He had a small ship named Rustwind. It was old and slow, but it could still fly. He used it to carry cargo between mining stations and small colonies. Tom had changed too. His hair had some gray now. His eyes looked tired but calm. He spoke little and kept to himself. Most people thought he was just a quiet pilot with a rough past. He never told them about the night he saved the Princess in the ship's control room. He kept an old communicator. It was dusty and full of broken parts. One night, while waiting for cargo to load on a moon station, the communicator lit up. A red light blinked. The sound was soft, almost forgotten. Tom looked at the screen. The code was old, but he recognized it. His heart beat faster. He opened the message. It was short, only a few words, but it was enough. "To the soldier who saved me, I am alive. I will return. If you hear this, please answer." Tom sat back in his seat. He stared at the message for a long time. He had thought she was lost, gone. But here she was, reaching out after all these years. He touched the keys and typed slowly, "Princess Lyra, I hear you. Where are you?" "On Trinari." Lyra sat up quickly as her beacon beeped. The screen showed a reply. Her hands shook as she read it again and again. Rel stepped into the room. "Is it him?" Lyra nodded. "He's alive," he answered. Rel smiled. "Then it is time." They moved quickly. Lyra sent more messages. They set a meeting place. An old space station outside Varela's system. The station was dead, forgotten. After the war, no one would be watching it. It was perfect for a secret meeting. Lyra packed her things. She wore a dark travel suit and carried a small case with only what she needed. The badge went inside her pocket, close to her heart. As her ship rose from the forest, the trees of Trinari glowed softly below. She looked down one last time. "Thank you," she whispered to the moon that had kept her safe. Tom flew the Rustwind toward the meeting point. He checked the weapons system. It still worked. But barely. He brought food, water, and some old gear from his soldier days. He didn't know what to expect. Was she really alive? Was it really her? But deep inside, he knew. It was her. He arrived at the station first. It floated in silence, its lights broken and walls cracked. He docked the ship and stepped inside. The air smelled old. Dust floated in the light from his helmet. An hour later, another ship appeared. Sleek and quiet, it docked slowly beside Rustwind. Tom stood in the empty hall and waited. The door opened. She stepped out. Her hair was shorter, but still white. Her eyes still held the same silver glow. Her face was older, stronger, but her voice was soft. "Hello, Tom." He smiled, and for the first time in many years, he felt peace. "You found me," he said. "No," Lyra said. "You found me first." They sat down together and talked for hours. About the war, about the years apart, about the dreams they had. Lyra told him about the Drexen rules still choking her planet. She told him about the rebels waiting for a leader. She told him she wanted to go back. "I need your help, Tom," she said. "Not as a soldier, as a friend." Tom looked at her for a long time. Then he nodded. "I'm with you." The station drifted in space like a sleeping giant. Its broken windows showed only stars outside. Inside, the lights flickered softly, and the air was still. In one quiet room, two lives that had once crossed in war were now together again. Lyra sat across from Tom at a small table. She held a warm drink in her hands. It smelled like sweet leaves from Trinari. Tom sipped water and looked at her with calm eyes. The years had changed them both, but their bond remained. "I didn't know if you were real," Tom said at last. Lyra smiled. "I didn't know if you were alive." Tom leaned back in his chair. "I've stayed quiet a long time, away from all the fighting." "I didn't come to bring war to you," Lyra said. "I came to ask for help. My people are still under Drexen rule. We have no leader they believe in. Only I can be that voice. But I cannot do it alone." Tom said nothing. At first, he looked out the window. "Why now?" he asked. Lyra touched the badge on her chest. "Because I finally found you, and because the time has come." Tom walked through the station's old halls, thinking. Memories from the past filled his mind. Soldiers running, smoke rising, Lyra crying under the log, the night he carried her through fire. He had buried those memories deep, but now they had returned. He returned to the ship, the Rustwind. Inside, everything was just the same. Tools, gear, old photos. But it no longer felt like home. He powered on the communicator and opened a list of old contacts. Some were gone. Some had moved far away. But a few names still blinked green, alive and reachable. He sent one message. "This is Tom. I need help. Meet me at Station Greypoint." Then he returned to Lyra. "I have friends," he said. "They owe me, and some still believe in peace." Lyra looked at him. "Thank you." Tom smiled slightly. "You still talk like royalty," she laughed. "And you still talk like a soldier." 2 days later, ships arrived at the station. Small ones. Fast and strong. From them came old faces, humans and Varellans, dressed in travel gear. Some with old battle scars, some with tired eyes. There was Mira, a tech expert with sharp eyes and a soft voice. She had once saved Tom's life during a storm. Then came Tarn, a big man who used to carry 3 rifles at once. Even now, he smiled like nothing ever scared him. And there was Ray, a quiet pilot who flew better than anyone Tom had known. They gathered in the station's old command room. Tom stood beside Lyra as she spoke. "My name is Lyra. I am daughter of Queen Ellen. I was saved by one of your own. I have waited many years to return. My planet needs a voice. My people need a light. Will you help me carry it back?" The room was silent. Then Mira stepped forward. "I thought you were a myth, but you're real, and your people need you." Tarn nodded. "I've waited for a reason to fight again. This is it." One by one, they all agreed. They made a plan. Varel was still under Drexen control. Their capital tower sat in the center of the largest city. From there, they spread fear. But the people were tired. Whispers of rebellion moved like wind through the streets. The goal was clear. Bring Lyra to the planet, send a message to her people, and light the fire of hope again. Tom and Ray worked on a safe route. Trenari's hidden satellites still. Watch the sky. They found an old mining path through the edge of the system. Slow, but safe. Mira prepared the signal system. They would use old rebel codes to break into the city's towers and send Lyra's voice across them. Planet.TARN gathered. Supplies, food, armor, small weapons, only what was needed. They were not an army, just a flame. Lyra studied maps and reports. She remembered every place from her childhood, every street, every building. Her memory became the key. 3 days later, they launched from the station. The Rustwind led the way. Behind it flew the smaller ships. They moved through asteroid fields and cold space dust. No Drexen ships saw them. They reached the edge of Varella's system safely. From space, Varella looked beautiful. Blue skies, white clouds, green lands. But beneath that beauty was pain. Lyra stood near the window, looking down. Home, she whispered. Tom stood beside her. It's still there, waiting for you. They flew to a small moon near the surface. It had an old rebel base under the rock. There, they landed and made final plans. Mira connected to the old tower codes. I can open a small window, she said. You'll have only 5 minutes to send your message. That's enough, Lyra replied. Tom checked his gear. He hadn't worn armor in years. It felt heavy. But familiar? You sure you're ready for this? Mira asked him. Tom looked at Lyra and nodded. She's ready. So am I. The next night, under cover of darkness, they landed near the capital. The city lights were dim. The towers no longer glowed like before. People walked quietly. Drexen patrols rolled by in heavy machines. The joy that once filled Varella had faded. Tom, Lyra, Mira, and Tarn moved through old tunnels. They reached a building near the tower's heart. Mira worked fast to connect to the signal core. 2 minutes, she said. Lyra stood in front of the screen. Her heart beat fast. She took a deep breath. Mira gave her a nod. Now, the screen lit up. The signal jumped to satellites above. Every screen on Varella began to glow. People stopped. They looked at walls, windows, and small devices. Faces turned toward the light. Then they saw her. Lyra stood tall, wearing simple clothes. Her voice calm and strong. My name is Lyra, daughter of Queen Ellen. I was saved during the war. I have lived. I have trained. I have returned. You are not alone. We are still Varella. We still have light. Stand with me, across the planet. Silence followed. Then slowly, windows opened. People stepped outside. Whispers grew louder. Hope returned. The fire had started. Lyra's message had moved across Varella like a sudden wind. It touched the hearts of old people who remembered her mother. It reached young ones who had only heard stories for years. The people had been quiet under Drexen rule, but now they knew the truth. The princess was alive. She had returned out in the capital city. The streets remained calm on the surface, but behind locked doors, people whispered her name. In villages, farmers gathered in the fields and listened again to her words in the dark mines where the Drexens forced many to work. Silent nods were shared between workers. A new hope had begun. Inside the small building near the tower, the group stood together. Lyra had just finished her message. The air was tense. Mira closed the signal. We did it, she said. It's spreading fast. They're watching. Tarn looked out the window. That means the Drexens are watching too. We need to move. Tom gave a quick nod. Let's get to the tunnels, back the way we came. But it was already too late. Sirens echoed across the street. Drexen patrol lights flashed against the walls. Metal footsteps approached fast. They had been found. Tarn raised his weapon. We'll make it. Just follow me. The group rushed into the tunnels. Mira stayed behind for a few seconds to wipe their digital trail, then followed. The tunnels were narrow and wet, filled with old roots and broken pipes. But they led away from danger. They didn't speak, only their footsteps and the hum of the Drexen alarms filled the air. An hour later, They reached an old marketplace outside the city. It had once been full of bright stalls and music. Now it was silent. With broken carts and empty chairs, Ray landed a small ship nearby and waved them. "Imp, you made it," she said. "Just barely," Tom replied. They flew back to the rebel moon, hiding behind the shadows of space rocks. On the way, Lyra sat near the window again, silent. She was tired, but her eyes were sharp. Tom sat beside her. "You did. Well, they heard you. Now we wait," Lyra said. "If the people rise, we move. If not, we plan again." Tom looked at her. "You're not that scared girl from before. You're stronger now." She gave a small smile. "And you're not just a soldier anymore. You're something more." Back at the rebel base, they received news. Messages came in from across Varela. Small groups were beginning to act. In the eastern city of Dowran, a group of teachers and farmers broke open a Drexen storehouse and shared food. In the forest towns, workers destroyed Drexen machines and vanished into the trees. The Drexens responded with force. But the people were not afraid this time. They had seen Lyra. They believed in her. One night, a new message arrived. A rebel leader named Zarn requested to meet Lyra in person. He had led one of the early freedom groups before being pushed underground. Now, after hearing her message, he wished to return. Lyra agreed. The meeting was set on an old mountain road above a lake. Tom and Tarn went with her for safety. Ray flew them in at low speed. Under radar, they waited by the rocks as the sun rose. Over the lake, the wind was cold. Lyra stood with her arms crossed, watching the road. Soon, footsteps approached. Zarn arrived with 4 others. He was tall, with deep scars on his face and fire in his voice. He bowed. "Your Highness, we thought you were lost." "I was hidden," Lyra said. "But I'm here now." Zarn looked at Tom. "And this is the human who saved you?" Tom nodded. Zarn stepped forward. "Then I thank you, not just for saving her, but for returning. We could use more like you." "We have more," Lyra said, "and we need to move together now." They sat down on the rocks. The lake reflected the sky. It was peaceful, but their words were serious. Zarn explained that more rebel groups had formed. They had old weapons, some gear, and strong fighters. But they lacked leadership. They lacked direction. "People are ready," Zarn said. "They just need a sign," Lyra replied. "Then let that sign be our action. We must take back the tower. If we can control the heart of the capital, we can drive the Drexens out." Zarn nodded slowly. "That will not be easy." Tom stepped in. "Then it's worth doing." The plan was bold, dangerous, but they agreed. In 5 days, rebel forces would rise across the cities. At the same time, Lyra's team would strike the main tower. The goal was not to destroy it, but to take it back, to stand there once more under Varelan skies and show the people they had won something real. For the next days, the base was full of activity. Ships were prepared, weapons cleaned, maps studied, messages were sent across old hidden lines. Lyra trained with Zarn's soldiers. Tom helped Ray fix the Rustwind's engines. One evening, Tom sat alone near the edge of the base, looking at the stars. Lyra joined him. She sat quietly beside him. "I never got to say thank you," she said. "You did," Tom replied back. Then, with just a look, she smiled gently. "You risked your life to save a girl who didn't even know how to run through mud. You learned fast," Tom said. "And now you're the one saving others." Lyra looked at the stars. "Do you think we'll win?" Tom paused. "I think if anyone can lead them, it's you." Lyra didn't speak, but she nodded slowly. The night before the final plan, Lyra stood in front of the small group. Her voice was calm. "Tomorrow is not the end," she said. "It is the beginning. We rise not for revenge, but for freedom. We fight not with hate, but with hope. Stand with me, and we take our world back." Cheers rose from the rebels. They were ready. Tom looked at her from the side. He had seen many leaders speak. None had moved people like this. She was not just the girl he had saved. She was the reason. They had all returned. He knew the next day would be hard, but he also knew it was right. The fire had spread, and now the storm would come. The sky above Varella's capital city was gray. The air felt heavy. Drexen patrols moved through the streets with tall machines and strong weapons. People walked with their heads down. Shops stayed closed. The joy from long ago had been buried. Deep, but under the surface, something new was growing. Whispers spread from street to street. People passed secret signs and messages. At the edge of the city, hidden rebels gathered in old buildings. They prepared for the day that was coming. That day was now here. Lyra and her team stood in the back of a quiet transport ship. They wore simple clothes. Like workers, under their coats, they carried light armor and weapons. Tom checked the tools. One last time. Mira was calm, her eyes on her screen. Tarn held a large bag filled with signal bombs and smoke canisters. "This is it," Lyra said. "Today we take the tower." Ray spoke through the communicator from the ship's front seat. Landing near the river bridge. It's quiet for now. The ship slowly touched down near an old transport station. They stepped out and walked like locals, blending in. Behind them, 3 other rebel teams entered from different points of the city. The plan was simple but risky. Each team would reach a different side of the tower. They would cut the power, break the outer security, and help Lyra reach the control floor from there. She would raise the Varellan flag again and send out her voice once more. It had to be fast. The Drexens had more weapons, more numbers, more machines. But they didn't have what Lyra had, the will of the people. Tom led the group through narrow streets. He had studied these roads long ago during the war. He knew where Drexen eyes could not see. They passed under bridges and behind walls. At one corner, 2 Drexen soldiers stood near a checkpoint. Mira whispered something into her wrist device. A light sparked on the other side of the street. The soldiers turned, and the team slipped past. Closer and closer they came to the tower. It stood tall above the city, made of dark stone and steel. At the top flew the Drexen flag. But not for long. At the same time, rebel teams across the city began their move. In the market square, workers threw down their tools and raised signs. In the North Park, students blocked the road. In the deep mines, workers broke the machines and stood together. The Drexen patrols moved to stop them. But they had not expected so many to rise. People who had been silent for years were no longer afraid. Tarn reached the tower's power grid. He pulled a wire cutter from his belt and opened a small box near the ground. Sparks flew. The lights on one side of the tower flickered and went dark. "Power cut," he said. Tom gave the signal. Lyra moved quickly with Mira by her side. They entered the lower door of the tower. The hallway inside was dark and cold. Sounds of shouting and alarms echoed from above. Guards ran past them, heading toward the square. They did not notice Lyra and her team in the shadows. They climbed the stairs. Each step felt long. But Lyra did not stop. She remembered every hallway, every turn. At last, they reached the control floor. The room was filled with screens, buttons, and one large window facing the city. From here, messages could be sent to every home on VI or Ella. Tom and Mira secured the door. Tom placed a heavy bar across it. "It's time," Mira said. Lyra stepped to the center of the room. She touched the glass panel. The screens lit up. All across the city, the screens in homes and streets came to life. People stopped what they were doing. Rebels paused in the middle of their fights. Even Drexen soldiers looked up. There she was. Lyra stood tall. Her voice was steady and strong. "My name is Lyra. I stand once more in the heart of Varella. You have not forgotten who you are. You are brave. You are strong. And you are free." Cheers broke out in the streets. People raised their hands. The Varellan flag rose again above the tower, lifted by Tarn and Tom. The people had won this moment. But it was not over. From the north, Drexen reinforcements moved toward the city. Large machines rolled across the bridge. Heavy ships flew above the streets. The tower shook from the sound. Mira checked her screen. "Drexen command is angry. They're coming fast." Tom turned to Lyra. "We need to hold this place long enough for the people to rise fully." Lyra nodded. "Then we hold." Tarn loaded his gear and took position at the door. Mira set up signal jammers. Tom checked his weapon, then looked at Lyra. This won't be easy. Lyra stood beside him. It never was. Outside, the people of Varela were not running. They were standing. They blocked roads with carts and stones. They shouted. They fought back with whatever they had. Tools, hands, and courage. The Drexens pushed forward, but for the first time. They were not facing a weak planet. They were facing a united one. Inside the tower, the fight reached them. Drexen soldiers tried to enter. Tarn held the hallway. Mira sent out calls to rebels nearby. Tom and Lyra stayed at the center, ready. Then something unexpected happened from the sky. Several unknown ships entered Varela's airspace. They were not Drexen. They were old Earth-style ships, carrying blue lights. A voice came through the communicator. This is the Earth Peace Alliance. We received a message from Tom. We stand by the Varelan people. Cheers filled the control room. Tom smiled. Looks like we're not alone. The Earth ships began helping the rebels, pushing back Drexen forces from the skies. The balance had shifted. By evening, the city streets were full of flags, voices, and victory. The Drexens pulled back. Their machines stopped. Their leaders sent orders to leave. Inside the tower, Lyra looked out the window. The city below was bright again. Fires of hope burned instead of fear. She turned to Tom. You stayed, she said softly. Tom looked at her. You gave me a reason. The two of them stood in silence, looking at the city they had helped save. It was not the end. The path ahead was still long. But the people had found their voice again. And the princess who had once been saved by a soldier was now the one leading them forward. The city was alive with new hope, but the battle was far from over. Drexen forces were not ready to give up their control over Varela so easily. They brought in reinforcements, heavier machines, more soldiers, and powerful weapons. The streets, once filled with cheers, now echoed with the sounds of war once again. Inside the tall tower that now stood as a symbol of freedom, Lyra and her team prepared for the fight ahead. Tom moved carefully, checking his weapon and armor. He felt the weight of years in his bones, but his spirit was strong. Lyra looked at him with steady eyes. Tom, I will not let them take this place back. Tom nodded. I will stand with you, like before. Outside, the Drexen lead arrived with his troops. His machine was large and dark, moving through the streets with heavy steps. Soldiers followed closely, their faces hidden behind metal masks. The city's people watched. From windows and hidden corners, holding their breath, the leader's voice boomed through the city, calling for surrender. But the people did not answer. Their voices were silent, but their hearts were loud. Inside the tower, alarms sounded. Sensors detected the approaching enemy. Tarn and Mira readied their positions at the entrance. Tom stayed near Lyra, ready to defend her with his life. The Drexen soldiers moved closer. The heavy doors shook under their blows. Tarn fired first, holding the line. Mira controlled the signals, cutting off enemy communication. Lyra stayed calm, watching the city through the large windows. She spoke softly. This is our home. We will protect it. Tom's weapon roared as the doors finally broke open. Soldiers poured in, but the defenders fought fiercely. Every step forward was met with resistance. Tom moved through the hallway, protecting Lyra and the control room. He fought not just with skill, but with a deep determination. Memories of the past and the promise of the future gave him strength. The battle inside the tower grew fiercer. Soldiers pushed and pulled. Machines fired energy blasts. The air was thick with dust and smoke. Suddenly, Tom felt a sharp pain in his side. He stumbled but caught himself. A small machine drone had fired a beam. Tarn rushed to help, pulling Tom behind a broken wall. You okay? Tarn asked. Tom nodded, breathing hard. I'm fine. Keep fighting. Lyra saw the injury and rushed to Tom's side. She touched his arm gently. Let me help you, she said. Tom shook his head. I saved you once. Now it's your turn. Lyra smiled softly and worked quickly to treat the wound. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. Meanwhile, outside the tower, the people of Varela were rising, inspired by Lyra's courage and Tom's stand. Rebel groups came from all directions. They fought against the Drexen soldiers, blocking their reinforcements. ZARN led a group through the streets, cutting off supply lines and freeing prisoners. The rebels moved with purpose, their hearts fueled by hope. From the skies, the Earth ships returned. They brought supplies and weapons, and their pilots joined the fight. The battle was becoming a true fight for freedom. Back inside the tower, the fight reached a turning point. Drexen soldiers were weakening. Their machines malfunctioned under Mira's signal jammers. The defenders pushed forward. Lyra stood at the main console, sending messages to the city. Her voice was heard by all. Varela is free. We fight together. We will not fall. Tom, despite his pain, moved with new energy. He fought side by side with Tarn and Mira, pushing the enemy back. Suddenly, the Drexen leader appeared in the hallway, his eyes cold and hard. He raised his weapon and aimed at Lyra. Tom jumped in front of her, taking the blast. The room went silent. Tom fell to the ground, breathing heavily. Blood stained his clothes. Lyra dropped to his side, tears in her eyes. Tom, she cried. He looked up at her, weak but smiling. You saved me now. With help from Mira and Tarn, they moved Tom to a safe corner. Lyra stayed close, holding his hand. The battle raged around them, but inside, a quiet moment of hope remained. As the fight continued, the people of Varela grew stronger. The Drexen leader's forces began to lose ground. His soldiers fled or surrendered. Finally, the tower stood firmly under Varelan control. The city was free. Lyra stood on the balcony outside the tower, holding the Varelan flag high. The people below cheered and sang. The stars shone brightly above. She looked at Tom, still resting inside. You gave your life for us, she said softly. Tom smiled. We give for each other. Days later, Tom recovered slowly. His wound healed with Lyra's care and the help of Earth doctors. He learned that he was no longer just a soldier, but a hero to many. The people of Varela came to see him as family. Children asked for stories of his bravery. Elders thanked him with quiet respect. Lyra and Tom stood side by side as their worlds began to unite. Varela and Earth, once distant and unknown, now shared a bond deeper than war. Together, they faced a new dawn. The war had ended, but the work was just beginning. Varela was free from the Drexen rule. But many scars remained. Cities needed rebuilding. Families needed healing. The land needed care. Lyra stood on the balcony of the tall tower. The Varelan flag waved gently in the morning breeze. Below, the people were busy cleaning streets, fixing homes, and planting new trees. The air was filled with hope and the promise of peace. Beside her, Tom watched quietly. He had recovered from his wound and had become a leader alongside Lyra. Though he was human, the people of Varela had accepted him as one of their own. Lyra spoke softly. It is not enough to win the battle. We must build a future. Tom nodded. And that future must include all of us, Varelans and humans together. Their eyes met. They had shared danger and hope. Now they shared a vision. In the days that followed, Lyra traveled to villages and towns across Varela. She met farmers, teachers, workers, and children. She listened to their stories and promised to rebuild schools and hospitals. She promised a new life, free from fear. Tom joined her, bringing supplies and technology from Earth. Together, they helped build clean water systems and small clinics. They taught people how to use new machines and tools to make life better. One evening, near a quiet river, Lyra and Tom sat together. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I still remember the night you saved me. Lyra said softly. I was scared and alone. You gave me hope. Tom smiled. And you gave me a reason to believe in something bigger. They sat in silence, watching the stars appear one by one. The Earth Peace Alliance sent more help. Scientists, doctors, and engineers arrived to share knowledge. The bond between Varela and Earth grew stronger every day. The people of Varela began to look beyond their planet. They dreamed of exploring stars, learning about new worlds, and sharing their stories with others. Lyra stood at the spaceport as a new ship prepared to leave for Earth. children waved, and adults cheered. The future was no longer just survival. It was adventure. Back at the tower, Lyra held a small box. Inside was the broken earth badge Tom had given her so many years ago. She touched it gently. "I want to thank you," she said, looking at Tom, "for saving me, for staying by my side." Tom shook his head with a smile. "You saved me too. Without you, I would have lost my way." They stood together, two souls from different worlds united by fate and courage. Years passed, and the story of the human soldier and the Varellan princess became legend. Songs were sung about their bravery and friendship. Children grew up hearing how hope can come from the darkest nights. Lyra became queen and led her people with wisdom and kindness. Tom became a respected leader, an ambassador between Earth and Varela. Together, they built a future where two worlds stood as one. On a clear night, standing side by side on the balcony, Lyra and Tom looked up at the stars. "Do you think there are other worlds like ours?" Lyra asked. Tom smiled. "I believe there are, and one day we will visit them." She nodded. Together, they raised their hands and waved at the shining sky, ready for whatever came next.